Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're going to be tackling,
Tackling regret.
regret, big topic,
Hmm.
and we're going to be looking at it through the lens of a really fascinating novel called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
Oh, yeah, I love this book.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good. For those who haven't read it, it basically revolves around this woman named Nora Seed, who, well, she's at a pretty low point in her life.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Yeah, and she finds this mysterious library.
Not your typical Dewey Decimal System.
Definitely not. This is like a library of infinite possibilities. Every book represents a different life. Nora could have lived a different path based on a different choice she made.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure, but with, like, existential consequences.
Exactly. And she gets to actually step into those lives, experience them, see how things would have played out.
It's a really clever way to explore that whole what-if thing we all do, right? Like, what if I had taken that job? Or
Right.
what if I hadn't moved away?
Totally like those sliding doors moments can haunt you.
Yeah, and for Nora, she's got a lot of those. She's got a lot of regrets, like not becoming an Olympic swimmer or ending her engagement, even some family stuff.
Yeah, relationship with her brother is a big one.
Right. And so each regret, each what if leads her to a different book in the library, a different life to try on.
And that's where things get really wild. We see her living all these different versions of herself. A glaciologist in the Arctic, a rock star, even a pub owner in a cozy little English village.
Like, what a range from saving the planet to pulling pints.
It's like, what would your life look like if you could rewind and make a few different choices?
It makes you think, right? And the thing is, it's not just about the different paths, it's about what those paths reveal about Nora herself, about what truly matters to her.
Exactly. And that's where the book gets really deep.
Mm.
It's not just a fun what-if adventure. It actually dives into some pretty heavy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Regret, happiness, the nature of reality, it's all in there.
Like, take Nora's life as an Olympic swimmer. On paper, it sounds amazing. She achieves her dreams, makes her father proud.
Right. Golden girl living the dream.
But underneath all that, she's actually pretty miserable, lonely, strained relationships with her family.
It's that whole be careful what you wish for thing, right? Like, sometimes the things we think will make us happy actually don't.
Totally. And the book really drives that point home over and over again. We see Nora trying on all these different lives, some seemingly perfect,
Yeah.
but there's always a catch, always something missing.
It's like no matter what life she chooses, she can't escape her own baggage, her own insecurities, her own need to figure things out.
Right. And it makes you wonder, is there even such a thing as a perfect life? Or is it more about learning to find peace and contentment within the life you have with all its imperfections?
Deep stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's what I love about this book. It's thought-provoking. It stays with you long after you finish reading it.
It definitely makes you re-examine your own life, your own choices, and maybe even appreciate what you have a little bit more.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that maybe, just maybe, the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Yeah, and maybe the key to happiness isn't about finding the perfect path, but learning to appreciate the beauty and the potential within the path you're already on.
That's a great way to put it. And it makes me think about this concept of a root life, that the book talks about the life Nora left behind, the one she keeps returning to in the library.
Right, like a home base.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even though she gets to try on all these different lives, there's something about her root life that keeps pulling her back.
It's like a reminder that no matter what, there's a core essence of yourself that remains unchanged. You can't escape who you are, even in a multiverse of possibilities.
And maybe that's not such a bad thing, right? Maybe it's about learning to embrace that core self-flaws and all.
Exactly. And maybe that's the first step towards truly finding happiness and fulfillment.
You know, it's funny, thinking about all these alternate lives, it makes me think about my own regrets and how they've shaped me.
Oh, yeah, me too. We all have those what ifs, right?
Yeah, totally. And it makes me wonder, if I had access to this midnight library, would I even want to change anything? Or would I realize that my current path with all its ups and downs is exactly where I'm supposed to be?
That's the beauty of this book. It's not just a thought experiment. It's an invitation to examine our own lives, our own choices, and our own definitions of happiness.
It really is. And it suggests that maybe, just maybe, the key to a fulfilling life isn't about finding the perfect path, but about learning to appreciate the beauty and potential within the path we're already on.
Right. And speaking of paths, let's not forget about the intriguing character of Hugo Lefebvre, someone who's mastered the art of sliding between lives.
Oh, yeah, Hugo, he's like the ultimate what-if guy, constantly jumping from one reality to the next, never settling.
He represents that part of us that craves novelty, that fears commitment, and it begs the question, is that constant chasing of different realities a form of freedom, or is it simply an escape from the challenges of truly living?
It's a good question. And the book doesn't give us an easy answer,
Yeah.
but it definitely makes you think about the trade-offs, the potential downsides of always looking for something better, something different.
Yeah, like maybe true happiness isn't about constantly seeking something new, but about finding something meaningful and committing to it, embracing the good and the bad, finding the joy in the journey itself.
And it makes me think about how easy it is to get caught up in the what-ifs, to miss out on the beauty and the potential of the present moment, because we're too busy chasing some elusive ideal.
That's such an important point, and it's something that the book really drives home. The pursuit of happiness shouldn't become an endless chase. It's about finding meaning and purpose in the everyday moments that make up our lives.
Absolutely. And it's about connecting with others, building relationships, finding those things that give us a sense of belonging and purpose.
Right, and it's about finding those things within ourselves too, our own strengths, our own passions, our own unique ways of contributing to the world.
And that brings us to another fascinating character, Mrs. Elm, the enigmatic librarian who guides Nora through this extraordinary journey.
Ah, yes, Mrs. Elm. She's like a wise mentor, gently nudging Nora towards self-discovery, offering cryptic clues, but never giving away all the answers.
I love her. She's so mysterious, and her words always seem to have a deeper meaning, like she knows more than she's letting on.
It's like she embodies the wisdom and potential of the library itself. She's not just a librarian, she's a guide, a therapist, almost encouraging Nora to confront her own limiting beliefs and discover what truly matters to her.
It's like she's saying, you have the power to choose, but choosing wisely requires self-awareness, introspection, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths.
Exactly, and that's something we'll delve deeper into in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, I think it's safe to say that Mrs. Elm is a crucial character in helping Nora understand the true nature of the Midnight Library and the deeper lessons it holds.
Absolutely. She's like the key to unlocking the secrets of this whole experience and helping Nora find her way back to herself.
And maybe back to a life that feels truly fulfilling.
Exactly. Thinking about Mrs. Elm, she's such a fascinating character. She's not just some, ordinary librarian. She's got this mysterious aura about her.
Yeah, it's like she embodies the wisdom and the potential of the Midnight Library itself, almost like she's the keeper of its secrets.
And she guides Nora through this whole journey, but not in a straightforward way. It's more like she nudges her in the right direction,
Yeah.
makes her think for herself.
Yeah, she's like that wise mentor figure, like a therapist almost.
Totally. She doesn't give Nora all the answers. She pushes her to confront her own beliefs about happiness and fulfillment.
Remember when Mrs. Elm tells Nora the only way to learn is to live? It's such a simple statement, but it's so profound.
Yeah, it's like she's saying, you can't just sit around and think about all the what-ifs. You have to actually experience life to really understand it.
And that ties into this whole theme of perception versus reality that Mrs. Elm keeps bringing up. Like, we often create our own unhappiness by focusing on what we think is missing instead of appreciating what we have.
Totally. It's like she's saying, stop chasing after some external ideal of happiness. It's about finding contentment within yourself, within the life you're living.
And it's not always easy, right? It's so easy to get caught up in those what ifs and those should have.
Oh, I know. I do it all the time. It's like, it's so easy to lose sight of the good things when you're fixated on what you think you're lacking.
Exactly. And Mrs. Elm, she helps Nora confront that head on. There's that scene where she encourages Nora to look at her book of regrets again. And it's not about dwelling on the past, but about understanding how those regrets have shaped her and what lessons she can learn from them.
Yeah. It's like she's saying, don't let those regrets define you. You use them as opportunities for growth, for self-discovery.
And it's interesting, the book doesn't explicitly list all of Nora's regrets, but we can kind of piece them together through the different lives she experiences.
Like not pursuing her passion for music or calling off her engagement with Dan or not fully appreciating her brother before his death.
Exactly, and those are all such relatable, universal experiences. I mean, who hasn't felt regret at some point in their lives?
Totally. And what's so powerful is that Mrs. Elm helps Nora realize that even within those regrets, there's potential for healing, for transformation.
Like, take the regret of not going for that coffee with Ash the surgeon, who later finds her cat dead in her root life. It seems like such a small, insignificant moment, but it represents a missed opportunity for connection, for a different kind of love.
Yeah, and it makes you realize that even those seemingly insignificant choices can have a ripple effect on our lives.
Right. And when Nora chooses to explore that life, she discovers a world where she's married to Ash. They have a daughter. She's a successful philosopher. It's like it's a life filled with love and meaning.
It sounds idyllic, almost too good to be true.
And that's the point, right? Even in this seemingly perfect life, there are challenges. Nora still has moments of doubt, of insecurity. It highlights this idea that no life is without its complexities.
And that true happiness involves embracing the full spectrum of human experience, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
There's no such thing as a perfect life, no matter how hard we try to find it.
It's like Haig is saying, you can't escape yourself, even in a world of infinite possibilities. The key is to find a way to live in harmony with who you are, flaws and all.
And it's interesting how Nora's journey through the Midnight Library kind of mirrors the stages of grief.
Oh yeah, how so?
Well, she starts in denial, right? Wanting to escape her root life entirely, and then she moves into anger and bargaining, trying to find a life that will magically fix all her problems.
Like she's on this emotional roller coaster.
Exactly. And eventually she reaches a point of acceptance, realizing that the key to happiness isn't about finding the perfect life, but learning to appreciate the beauty and the potential within the life she already has.
That's such a powerful message. It's not about erasing our past or trying to become someone else. It's about finding peace with who we are and where we are in this moment.
And that acceptance, it's beautifully illustrated in the scene where Nora returns to her root life. It's the same messy apartment, the same financial struggles, but now she sees it with new eyes.
Like the library has given her this fresh perspective.
Exactly. She's no longer consumed by regret or this desire to escape. She's embracing the present moment with a sense of gratitude and a newfound awareness of the possibilities that still lie ahead.
It's a reminder that sometimes all we need is a shift in perspective to see the beauty and potential in our own lives.
And the book's ending, it's both hopeful and ambiguous. We see Nora reaching out to her brother, reconnecting with her love of music, taking these small but meaningful steps towards creating a life that feels authentic to her.
Like she's not magically fixed, but she's moving forward with a sense of purpose and hope.
And there's this beautiful final image of her playing the piano, composing a new song. It symbolizes her newfound sense of creativity and self-expression.
It's like she's finally found her voice both literally and metaphorically.
But the book also leaves us with this lingering question. Will she be able to sustain this newfound sense of hope and purpose? Or will she inevitably fall back into those old patterns of self-doubt and despair?
It's a question that each reader has to answer for themselves, I suppose.
But ultimately, I think the Midnight Library offers this powerful reminder that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to choose hope, to choose connection, and to create a life that feels meaningful one small decision at a time.
And maybe the most important takeaway is that this search for meaning and fulfillment, it's an ongoing journey, not a destination.
It's about embracing the messy, imperfect beauty of life and finding the courage to keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing, even when the path ahead seems uncertain.
You know, we've talked a lot about the philosophical side of things, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on some of the specific lives that Nora samples. What really stood out to you?
You know, for me, it was that contrast between the lives that were, I don't know, more focused on achievement versus those that were about connection.
Yeah, I see that.
Like you have Nora as this, rock star living this glamorous life, but she's struggling with the emptiness of it all.
Right, all that external validation, but no real inner peace. Exactly, and then you compare that to, say, her life as a glaciologist. She's facing these harsh conditions, but she finds this incredible sense of purpose.
Yeah, she's contributing to something bigger than herself, making a real difference in the world.
And it's not just the glaciologist. There's also her life with Izzy in Australia, or the one where she's a wife and mother with Ash.
Right, those lives highlight the power of human connection, the importance of those close relationships.
It's like the book is saying true happiness comes from finding something that gives your life meaning, something that connects you to something larger than yourself. And that could be anything, you know.
Absolutely. It could be a career, a passion, a family, a community, whatever resonates with your soul.
But it's not about chasing external validation. It's about finding that inner spark.
And the life that really stayed with me was Nora's experience as a glaciologist in Svalbard. There's something so powerful about her finding solace in this harsh, unforgiving environment.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like the vastness of nature put her own struggles into perspective.
Right, and there's that incredible scene where she's stranded on that island and she has that close encounter with the walrus. It's terrifying and awe-inspiring at the same time.
Oh man, that scene gave me chills.
It's like a wake-up call for Nora, a reminder that life is precious and that there's so much wonder and beauty in the world if we just open our eyes to see it.
It's like that walrus was a symbol of, I don't know, the power of nature, the interconnectedness of all things.
And it's a turning point for Nora. It's after that experience that she really starts to embrace the present moment and let go of those regrets.
So after exploring all these alternate lives, after grappling with all these what ifs, what do you think is the ultimate message of the Midnight Library?
Well, I think it's a reminder that we all have regrets, we all make mistakes, but those